Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Sweet.
Perfect. How are you all doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Great. It's a wild time.
Dude.
It surely is. Man, we've been so excited to have you on the podcast. We just really thought it was going to be in person.
Yeah.
But this is what better than this?
Yeah, right?
Safe distance, 3,000 miles of social distancing.
But whatever we're about to say to each other has the underlying like essence of this time in our planetary existence where we're experiencing all of this experiencing with each other at kind of a different degree. So it's just whatever we're gonna communicate to each other right now is just gonna be like trippy just under those conditions. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow, I have noticed that. There is something about us all going through this that is like almost like a truth serum. Like people are stepping a little bit more into their like no bullshit persona, and it's really cool. And it definitely like it makes things like electrified a little bit more. I feel like that's why we're doing so many of these conversations right now because I don't
I
know, it's just
love it.
really interesting to me. I'm like, wow, everyone's going through the same thing at the
Yeah.
same time for once. I can't remember in our lifetimes when that's happened.
Yes. Yes. It's the best word that I can come up with to describe it is wild. So that's what I always say. It's
Hmm.
wild. Like it's like don't let the big buildings and the iPhones and cars confuse you. Like we just moved from one jungle to another jungle. Like it's still
Mm-hmm.
all wild. We still have no idea what's really going on. Like just
Yeah.
because we come up with these words and these ideas and we're talking about it and playing with it, it's like we don't we're not we weren't actually the masters of the universe. Like we're not like mastering it. We're just becoming aware of it and playing with it and existing as it and creating as it. And but it's just what it is far bigger than our control.
Mm.
um, and I think this is one of those moments that can awaken people to that bigger truth. Not that it needs any words or titles or anything, but just um, I don't know, when it all kind of first started escalating. I jokingly said to Vanessa, my wife, like, "Oh, how exciting! Like everyone's gonna live like artists now.
Right?
Yeah, yeah.
We're all gonna be at home like for exorbitant amounts of time and like not see the sunlight and like be wearing like being in our shadows and just sitting in our thoughts and knowing that the government doesn't give a fuck about you and like these are all things
Yeah.
that like artists have known for years. It's like that's why they're
Totally.
artists.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Yeah, that's why I think the internet is so fascinating and so powerful because life doesn't stop ever, and life on the internet really doesn't ever cease to exist either. Like it's just this ongoing flowing like
Yeah.
even if you don't if you even if you can't leave your house, like the happening is real. um so there's still the potential of communicating with others as well as being with ourselves, in the silence, in the unknown, and just kind of sitting with ourselves.
In that
And that
sense, this has been super.
manifests in so many wild ways too.
I just feel like in that sense, like when you frame it like, yo, we're in the jungle, it's like this is actually kind of being kind to us compared to how it could be. And we've had it good for a long time that
For
something
sure.
hasn't wiped us humans off the planet before or really like royally fucked us up. It seems like in a long motherfucking time it's been since something
Yeah.
like that's happened.
This is what I love. I think it was Terrence McKenna. He said, if you are fortunate to think or have the idea that the end of the world is coming, like some sort of future thing, like you're fortunate, because
Yeah.
for much of the earth, like they are in the grasp of Leviathan itself and are like, the world is ending now. Like my world is ending. So
Mm.
if you think that you're actually on completely stable ground and existing in this world, that you figured it out and all is permanent, it's like, no, it's a dance forever, you know? Everything is.
And you're doing one of the wildest dances of them all, being a new dad.
It's unreal.
Dude.
One of the trippiest things I've ever been a part of ever.
The timing of all this.
I literally like helped her out.
Really?
Wow.
Oh yeah, like I was the first human that touched her. Like when she was still in Vanessa.
Wow.
Yeah, because we have the coolest doctor, and she loves my art, and she's just like knows I'm, you know, in the adventure, and she's just like, you put on glove. I had my camera, and she's like, it was crazy. She's like, take off your camera, give it to her. One of the nurses is a woman who travels the world taking photographs. She's like, she's your new photographer. She like literally gave my camera to this nurse who had no idea that was a photographer. She's like, you put on gloves and you stand right here. And she basically used her hands and was guiding my hands and was basically communicating without any words, like, pay attention, feel what's happening, be here right now, like just watch this wild thing unfold. And this is a woman who's done this over 10,000 times, like brought over 10,000 babies, transitioned from being their home, being in the mother's belly, to like now they exist in this world. But like they always have existed in this world, but it's this, you know, like this super wild transition. There's a woman who's witnessed this like so many times, and she was just like this feminine angel wisdom kind of guider. And when she saw my reaction, she just like, because I mean, my heart just blasted open, and I was instantly in love with this new being in a way that I had never quite sensed before at that degree. I mean, I've had, you know, I mean, to me, everyone is my brothers and sisters. Like, I literally feel that, but it's just
dog.
a different little perspective that actually, like, being part of the creation of that, you know, very specific manifestation. It's like, and she just like looked so deep into my eyes, and she's just like, right?
Wow.
And I was just like, yeah.
Holy, do you get the sense she's been here before, or this her, like, what's her consciousness?
So her name is River Rose, Flowing
Beautiful.
Flower. That was just the name that I just plucked from, you know, to the Native Americans, to the people that literally lived where we're living before us, giving something a name, a new, you know, human a name was like a very sacred thing to them. And they just listened to the energy of what was happening, and it's just like whoosh, Sitting Bull, you know, Black Hawk, like this
Rolling
is your
Thunder.
name. Rolling Thunder. And it's just like, and those names are given by people who were very in tune with their happenings of life, and just listening to like, what should this being be titled, you know? And that's River Rose, Flowing Flower. Like that was just a name that, you know, just kind of plucked out of the sky.
From
And
listening.
she has already had the like trippiest start that I could ever imagine.
Yeah, what was her birthday?
May 24th, 2020.
Wait, no. May
March.
24th. May 24th. March
I'm sorry,
24th.
March 24th. This month's May. March
Yeah.
24th, 2020. She was born
Wow.
in the future.
I was like, wow.
She is wild. She's from the future. It's pretty wild. No, it's unbelievable. Like we had a dog, a Norfolk Terrier, this little blonde bear looking pup named Ravioli that I literally call like my shaman. Like the only reason I had the courage to take super, super deep dives into my own self and sort through things and go deeper and deeper and deeper was because Ravioli was there.
Really?
I
Oh
didn't
my
know
God,
that.
that's so
Ravioli
fucking
was
awesome.
there.
Wow.
I knew as long as Ravioli was there, everything would be fine.
Wow.
And
A trip sitter service dog.
And then the things that I learned just from listening to her and interacting with her and building a relationship with her and like literally merging consciousness with her, this, you know, descendant of wolf, little angelic being that was from the streets. And I feel a very soulmate, you know, attraction to dogs that have been abused and misused. And I just, when I see that in a dog's eyes, it's like, you know, like I feel you. And Ravioli had that. And but with that comes such wisdom and such understanding and such potential depth for love expression. And we just merged, and she was our daughter. Like literally Ravioli was me and Vanessa's daughter. I made art of her, giant paintings of her. Like she was my favorite model. And we explored deeply with her, like literally in the middle of nowhere, finding petroglyphs with her in my arms. And like just like she lived a crazy life with us. And she died last year, kind of unexpectedly. And we went on our first camping trip. It was a week after this, or after that, you know, we're just so sad, obviously. We're like, we need to get outside and go camping on a river and just, you know, connect a little deeper. So we brought some of Ravioli's ashes and her fur and all of our instruments, and we sang a Ravioli soul song. We like went out into the middle of this river on this giant rock, and we sat there nude and just beat on this drum, singing whatever just comes out, howling at the moon, connecting to Ravioli, letting go her fur down the river. And then we literally made love after that. We were eating mushrooms. We made love after that. And river came.
Jeez.
Whoa.
I was hoping this is where this story is
going.
going.
Make that shit up.
Whoa, dude. Incredible. Wow. That's such a great story.
There must be a little bit of Ravioli and river, don't you think?
Oh, no. It gets nuttier. Like, I knew there would be, but there's a painting. Like, we have this kind of altar piece that's a bookshelf, and then on the top is just like tons of crystals and little trinkets that mean something deeply to us, and a, you know, salt lamp and Ravioli's ashes and stuff like that. And then on the wall is a watercolor painting that I made of ravioli. And she's kind of like, it's just this, like, it's the spot in our apartment to like make an ode to something, and like ravioli's there. And the couch is right here, and there's this little boppy pillow, which is a seat that like a newborn baby can sit in. And I swear to you, every day she sits in it, River, and she completely contorts her neck to look up at the painting of ravioli.
Oh.
Whoa. She knows.
Like we have a lot of video of it. Like her eyes are just gazing up at, and we have Milo. We have a dog named Milo, who she knows about too. But she specifically, so it's not like she's never seen a dog before. Like she specifically locks eyes with the painting of ravioli.
Oh my God.
I have a theory that she's gonna be like, yeah, I know who ravioli is. Like when she's older, they're just be like, yeah, I know who ravioli is.
Wow. She'll be hanging in her room and she's like, no, I'm okay. I'm just hanging with ravioli.
Yeah, I swear.
God.
Yeah.
Well, you created a magical ceremony. Like you were like honoring this cycle, and maybe you allowed ravioli.
What you give is what you get.
Yeah.
So the people that don't understand that, they're like, no, these people, they're just making ideas up with their heads. And it's like, you sure? Or are they like listening more than you are? You know what I mean? Because we're all perceiving at the different levels of what we're perceiving of. So, what's the age-old little saying? What you give is what you get. So like the deeper you build a relationship with your relationships, obviously you're going to experience more in return. But these are like invisible things that we're talking about,
Yeah.
It's
but they get validated
invisible
in such magical ways. Your experience was so validated.
Our words of trying to talk about them are just simply our best like ways of talking about the thing, but the thing is like, it's invisible stuff. It's like the words aren't really the thing. It's trippier than we even give it credit for, I think.
It can't be spoken to.
Well, it can be spoken to. Like in the sense like we can be like, thank you for whatever this is. That's like, and that can be spoken to in dance and manifestation and like literally a whole group of civilization building a pyramid to it, or making art or making music. It's like it can be spoken to and it's like pointing at the thing, but can it ever be just wrestled down and held and be like, this is the thing? I don't think so.
When did you wake up to it? Because I know for us, I'm wearing a mushroom shirt. I'm honoring mushrooms because I think that was the moment, really. Like, because you have more hints of it. You have that more pure awareness when you're a kid, and like I was very, very curious and connected as a kid, and then you get your ego grows and does these things it has to help you get through the world and survive. But then the mushrooms shed that away the first time, and that was the first time I really encountered it as an adult, and I was 32. What about yourself?
Man, it's such a beautiful thing. Like so Picasso said, took me 4 years to paint like Velasquez and a lifetime to paint like a child. And though I understand what he's saying, I think it's actually a deeper thing. It's not that of a child, but that of an adult who has the connection to the spirit of where the child comes from. You have these lived life experiences to learn from and uphold the wisdom of like deep experiences in life. All that entails, all the waves of, and then coming in contact with it, if you've forgotten it, if you've lost touch with it, coming in contact with it again, like the power, the potential of expression at that point is very powerful.
Oh yeah, having that contact, because I guess when you're a kid, you're closer to source. You haven't forgotten yet.
Yeah,
but you don't quite have ways of expressing from it. It's fascinating.
And we don't listen to kids. That's the other thing. The funny thing is, when we're so close to that thing at the beginning of our life and at the end of our life, like, we disappear those segments of society. They're like really tuned out. Whatever they're saying is dismissed.
Well, that's the fucking trippy thing about having a child when you are connected to the thing.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at the baby like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not that they know something that you don't necessarily know. Mm-hmm. Not like, tell me all the answers, but like, together we're gonna have this unbelievable rapport and dance, and like, let's just be here now. You know what I mean? Like I trust that everybody knows what needs to, happen for growth to occur in this relationship. Let's just be with each other and, experience this experience in all that entails. Like, waking, having to be the one to get up at 4:30 in the morning to change the diaper and, give her a bottle, so that Vanessa can sleep, and like your ego's flaring up because you're tired and you're like, fuck, man, I could be sleeping right now. And then, but you're like, you're like, oh, man, what a thing. Like, I don't think we transcend. I think we just like unify with the thing that is and accept what is, and then become more like graceful with playing with the thing that we are. But I think the idea of transcendence can kind of like give us an excuse to no longer experience the world as it is and like leave the others behind.
Right.
When I don't want to leave the others behind. Like, the best people I ever met were people.
Yeah.
You know? Doesn't mean that they're the best beings I've ever met, because I've met all sorts of beings, but like, they're all the best thing, I think so. That's the interesting thing that I see with the potential for merging psychedelics back into the community and using the internet to do so, because we can. Another thing that going back to, I'll circle back to the question of how old was I when I came back to this, but what I think is really important is what is the point of, I never liked the word enlightenment. I think the word enlightenment is boring and it's passive, and it means that the person who is being called enlightened now has a pass to kind of like exist in this realm outside of everybody else.
Yeah.
I don't think that's it. I think you're still like knee deep in with everybody else, but you're obviously perceiving it from a different potential vantage point, energetically, kind of beyond words, obviously. But I think it's important, like, what are we using? Why is it important to regain this like archaic revival of having plant consciousness be part of ape consciousness again? And to me, it's like, to save the fucking world, obviously.
Yeah, totally.
Like, to become Jedis for Earth and like do that in the world, be that in the world, and then you go back into the wind again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, but what are we doing now? And not only did psychedelics remind me like, but like, oh man, you lived this wild life, and like, oh man, I know you felt so sad here and so lost here and so sad again here, and like, shit's wild, right? Like, shit's scary, huh? Like psychedelics are like they're very funny too. So it's like,
yeah,
because it's like, shit's fucking scary, huh? It's sad too. DMT specifically said to me once, is like, it's sad too, right? And I was like, it's sad too, right? And it was like, it's all the things. And I was like,
that's part of it. That's why we wanted
All
to
the
take
things.
form. That's why we wanted to come down to this density. So it's funny when we try to escape it, and we want to escape it, and like, while we have this thing, not just be this thing that experiences the whole spectrum of
yes.
things.
And what does it even mean when people say, oh, you got to surrender to it? You got to surrender to it. That's what it means to become one, to know the dark within you so that you can fully merge with it energetically, so that you can draw from it to express what it is that you want, to manifest what it is that you like see in your imagination ought to be your expression.
Yeah.
Like, that's you. That's literally, in my opinion, and it's beyond words, but that's doing God's work. In your imagination, you see, this ought to be in the world. This ought to be my expression, my form of communicating, my way of going deeper. Like, I know I could be expressing more than this. I know that, no, I don't need to listen to that person's opinion. I know that I'm actually this, like that, like little chatter. And also, like, you see it, you can see it within others, when people post powerful quotes that someone said, that it's like they're making an ode to the thing that they see as like what ought to be in the world. And it's like, we can all enter that right now and be that right now, and nothing supercharges that like psychedelics, in my honest opinion.
Oh man.
And the psychedelics are like, what is even psychedelics? The word psychedelics doesn't even do it justice, because if you're outside of the psychedelics club, like if you're like on the border of like, what are these people talking about? It's like you see psychedelics and it's like, well, my life's not psychedelic, so I guess I'm not part of that. And it's like, no, friends, like, what is another way of saying it? Okay, consciousness expanding plants. Like, are you down to eat plants that may expand consciousness? Seems like a pretty reasonable thing to do as an evolving ape. Like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the trees. You wouldn't, like, because some people will be like, make the fight like, oh, I don't need drugs. I don't need drugs, like, I don't need drugs, guy. And it's like, do you need trees to breathe? Like, would you, the evolving ape that you are, be here if it wasn't for plants?
Yeah.
You inspire us.
You wouldn't. And it's like, if you don't eat meat, what do you eat?
Plants, baby.
Plants, baby.
So it's like, and it's like, we're all, DMT told me, actually mushrooms told me this, it's not about never eating meat, it's about your relationship with everything. So one time, someone on Facebook wrote a group, they wrote, did psychedelics turn you to a vegan? And I wrote, psychedelics actually turned me to a hunter, and told me that it's not about like never not doing anything, but it's your super intimate relationship with the things that you do.
Right.
And it's like, that's responsibility. That means like we get to be the creators, we get to be the co-existers with our reality. And to me, this is a very powerful thing that can be felt in this kind of now moment that we're existing in as a human species on Earth, being locked up in our houses.
Yeah, man.
It's like, what am I going to do when I leave this house now?
Totally.
Have you been
And
going?
like, why am I going to do that?
Have you been going to the studio?
No, I haven't been in months.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah, I have my dining room table covered in watercolor paint. It's a glass table, and
Oh, man, I
watercolor
wanna see
paint
that.
is, you literally can just take everything off and spray, a window cleaner, and it comes off squeaky clean. So
Wow.
it's like a
Nice.
really cool way to still maintain a studio vibe and just use watercolors, because it doesn't leave anything like unmanageably dirty. Like if I painted in oil here, it would be a nightmare. But I'm gonna start going back to the studio soon.
Yeah, that's how we met you. We visited your studio, and it was like
Yeah.
exhilarating, man.
Yeah.
That place is
Talk about wild.
buzzing. It's like a temple. Yeah, it's like a wild temple.
It feels like a wild temple jungle.
Yeah.
Which is like, now that I just say that, is like there's tons of temples that literally monkeys can just run in and out of, rats, and you know what I mean? Like, it's just like almost every studio I've ever had has had mice in it at one point. So
Is
it's
that
like,
one infested, you think?
What's that?
The one you currently have infested?
No, it's not infested, but they've had like several mice. You know what I mean?
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I just use the traps that it doesn't hurt the mice, and then I can just walk it out and release it. But
That's sweet.
well, I had to learn about those traps
The hard way.
after I learned about the other traps.
The glue ones are the gnarliest.
I mean, I have some wild experiences just with catching mice in my studio. Like, just like internal dialogues of like how to treat animals, like, because the first mice that I caught was in glue traps.
Yeah, those are
literally keeps them alive, but they're glued to something now. And then I'm faced with the dilemma of like, okay, now how do I deal with this animal that I just entrapped in my glue trap consciously? You know what I mean?
That's
and then,
rough.
like,
imagine regretting that and
being
face feeding
this
them.
moving forward? Do I just put glue traps everywhere, or do I like adapt and look for other options that aren't so like fucked up?
That's a rough one. The glue trap.
I think
do you want to know my response the first time?
Did you feed that mouse?
It's harsh. No.
Oh no. What was it?
This is the isness that I talk about. This is the merging with the darkness as opposed to running from it. You know what I mean? So I didn't even think of it. I was just like, I just had been working in this little studio in the middle of Little Haiti, Miami, and like there's roaches in it everywhere. This is years back. One of my first studio by myself, and I'm working on the computer. I'm working at something, and I can just see rodents like go underneath my chairs. And I'm just like, fuck, like I gotta get something. And there's a hardware store across the street, and I go there, and they only have glue traps. So I put that there. And the first one I get close to it, and I'm like, oh shit, I got a mouse. And it's like that big.
Oh.
And I get close to it, and it's the whole bottom is stuck in the glue trap, and the whole thing's moving like this, so totally aware. And I'm looking in its eyes. It's totally aware. And there's no way it's ever coming out of that glue. Like, those things are made to like enshrine you forever. And now I'm like faced with this dilemma of what do I do now with this mouse that I just took the action to enshrine, and it's still fucking alive.
And he has friends that are still out there too. It's not like he did it. It's it's like the drug war.
I mean, it's a decision that I made. So I was forced with two alternatives. One I saw way more fucked up, which was to put it in my trash can, my dumpster outside, and just let it live out the rest of its life like that.
Till it starved to death.
Yeah.
Which would be fucked up. And the alternative was what I did do. I took that, I put it into a Ziploc bag, and then I put the Ziploc bag into an opaque brown paper bag so I couldn't see it. Yeah. And then I grabbed it and I slammed that as hard as I could against the side of my house.
Oh my God.
To guarantee instant death.
Yeah, that was a good call.
Good call, but fucking trippy.
Well, I think all you have to do is, I don't know, I think some Native American tribes did this, but just imagine that you're coming back as that little fucker, and how would you want some,
okay, right. So this is why we talked about this in the first place. The relationship that you have with everything.
Yes.
It's not what you do. It's not I'm a piece of shit because I used a glue trap. It's how is my relationship? Of course, I said like a freaking prayer for the animal. Like,
yeah.
It changed my life because I killed that animal with my bare hands. I was highly aware of it. But it didn't keep me from becoming a hunter, which also was a sad, which is a very sad thing as well. So it's wild. Like it's all the things.
Yeah.
Killing animals and eating them isn't not sad, but it's also something that is done. You know what I mean?
It's how we got here.
Reality.
Yeah.
So it's so for me, it's not, okay, now I buy the factory farmed pig meat because I'm aware that it was in a shoulder to shoulder thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, no, that's not the decision that I make.
Yeah.
If I eat meat, it's because it comes from at least this better place. It doesn't make it any less wild. You know what I mean? To me, the goal is to be able to eat. If I eat meat, it's only things that I personally hunted myself.
I think that's a good call.
It's difficult,
Yeah, especially
it's
like
difficult
where you are.
Exactly. California, it's like you tell someone in California that you hunt, they're like, you do what, you fucking savage? You know what I mean? It's like, but it's deeper, Well, it's a relationship with everything.
Where you are right now, it might be hard to maybe hunt deer, but you could hunt like little raccoons and stuff, right?
Squirrels.
Well, yeah, I haven't hunted in a couple years now because of just limited time and access to, the great outdoors and everything like that. But in my life, like it's a goal to eventually have a ranch that is just kind of a full circle, self-sufficient. If we eat meat, it's like we're eating one animal that was ceremonially hunted for like months. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Making the footprint smaller, making everything more intimate, more special, more. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Hard to do in LA necessarily like that.
Yeah, right?
You can do it in your own life, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like you need to be in LA? Like, why did you even go out to LA? You were in Miami.
It's so funny. I asked myself the other day, is living in a city an addiction at some point? Like,
we talked about this last night. That's so fucking
I'm 29 years old. and I've only lived in big cities.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm highly aware of like all that entails and how wild big cities are. And it's like, and I'm constantly called to live on a ranch. So I was like, am I supposed to like live the last 15 years of my life on a ranch, or do I like live there and grow there?
Yeah.
And build something, you know, a space that any friend, any family member could at any time get on a plane, come over here. You can stay here for a month. You can stay here. You know what I mean? Like, we got a ceremony teepee. There's a sculpture garden. It's like 1,000 acres of just like explore.
That's going to be the
yourself.
trend, man. I feel like, because like right now what we're experiencing, it's a little scary for us. Like everyone we know and love in New York City is leaving. They're just dropping like flies, one after the other after the other.
Wow.
Because everyone's waking up to how ridiculous this situation is, and we are addicted. Like we know that when we leave here for too long, we're like, cool, yeah, we got to get back, and I don't even know what it is. It's like there's something in the air. There's like,
I feel like we're
I get
low-key
depressed
people.
when I get back to LA.
Oh, yeah.
We go on like 3-week road trips, and when I get back, I'm depressed. And usually the city, like if we're going north and then circling back down, the city that we have to stop in to before we get to LA is Las Vegas.
oh,
And before I was like more in tune with my breathing and myself, and you know, more comfortable and just more grounded, like I would pass through Las Vegas after being outdoors, like literally in the middle of nowhere for 3 weeks, and just have to curl up in a ball in a hotel room and just like be like, don't fucking touch me. Like, I gotta just ride this out over here, you know?
yeah.
Like, it's wild.
Well, because everyone has that same thing. We're all very sensitive to this whole thing. We just get used to it, you know? Some people come to New York City and get freaked the fuck out. There's a lot going on here. There's a lot of there's like a lot in the air. Stuff we can't see or hear or smell, but it's in the air. The electromagnetics. And
How could it not be?
Yeah.
it's through the roof, dude.
Yeah, of course. Like,
So you got to get used to it here.
it's like, it's literally like a monkey playpen
Yeah.
at the ultimate degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like just filled with apes.
Fuck.
Like,
And
that's
now
wild.
that we're not in these ape hamster wheels, like people are like, why am I here? What? Oh, actually, we're really vulnerable here. Like, what if the food supply gets cut off? Like, we couldn't grow our own food here if we wanted to. Like, we couldn't really do much.
Bingo.
So, you know, that everyone's thinking about this, I think, is like, how do we start being more self-sufficient? Which this is what Earth is asking of us right now, is to like take it super local, is almost to switch our instincts away from like this hyper capitalist, hostage capitalist mentality over to how do we get super local? How do we take care of each other? How do we look out for each other? How do we grow our food and we stay sustainable and we're not reliant on these huge corporations and huge networks and exploited people across the world growing our food? That makes no sense. And not only that, that's not even what we should be eating. You got to be eating what you can grow around you. That's the healthiest thing
And
for you.
you said instincts. I think what you're saying is the instincts. I think most people are tricked and lack access to like reassurance back that like their instincts are correct. You know what I mean? Tricked, or some sort of fearful situation is created where they're forced against their instincts. So it's like, oh shit, okay, that's not right. Okay, I'm in this job now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, I'm sitting at this desk for the next 30 years. Got it. It's like, but really, it's this constant invisible grapple inside of like fighting your instincts. Because I think it's just as much energy to fight your instincts as it is to, you know, I think there has to be some sort of grapple because I
Oh,
think
yeah.
the instincts are to get out and
Mm-hmm.
put your feet in the grass and sit
Yeah.
under a tree and like.
Well, it takes its toll with anxiety and all the different mental health issues. We do know that disconnecting from the earth and overworking and not sleeping and looking at your phone before you go to bed, like all those stuff that might not be as natural, does pay. You do have to pay the price for that.
I think that stuff literally blocks the instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what the mushrooms do so well. It reminds you what your instincts are by literally grounding you to the earth again and being like, right, you get it now. Okay, run along and go be a good ape. Go
It's
be
so much
a good evolving ape.
so much better than getting programmed by Facebook algorithms, right? Like
They're
everyone
worse.
wants to program us. Coke wants to program us to sugar addiction. Facebook wants to program us to scrollaholism. Like,
Yeah.
who are you
My
going to give it away
art,
to?
my
Yeah.
my best art is literally programmed to be indirectly on the like the worst side of the spectrum for like being benefited by Instagram algorithms. So like my best paintings are so subtle and sensitive. Like literally it's something that you could forever wander off into, and I make them for a reason. But they're so subtle that Instagram algorithm literally drops them in the like dumpster of access to the world of internet of Instagram.
Wow.
Isn't that
Really?
crazy? My best work, my most groundbreaking paintings, because they don't have like easy recognizable shapes,
Whoa, dude.
they're literally like thrown in the algorithm dumpster. And also that brings to attention how interesting that so many artists are like making their art specifically like geared towards algorithms. So they're kind of
Yeah.
like trading in their I guess personal autonomy to like explore outside boundaries and being like, no, I'm giving you easy shapes, the easier the better, so that the algorithm is happy, and therefore that'll funnel to the eyes that the algorithm says should see it.
The real artists need
It's
to
just-
resist
it's-
that.
The real artists
There
probably
you go.
are. You
Well-
know what
well,
I
I
mean?
mean, we've seen
there
it,
you
though.
go. That's
It was-
it. That's
it
it.
was-
That's it.
Before algorithms, though, we were seeing the same thing. And these aren't artists, they're artistic opportunists, but we'd see it at the film festivals. We'd see people that we know tailoring their short film to get into this festival or to appeal to that and this and that. And that wasn't an algorithm, those were people. But they knew that there must be some formula, so they would take something like, if we're like striving to innovate, they'd be like, oh, that worked, that got into Sundance, let's try to make our version of it. And then we'd see a wave of those, and it's just like, oh god,
You're literally like courting the people that have already said that this is acceptable.
Yeah, and
They're
that's
like,
lame.
oh, you like this? Here, we'll try some of this, but it's the same stuff.
Yeah.
As opposed to the people that are like, thank you so much, you've been here, but I'm gonna continue exploring through here.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, it's its own reward, thank God, to like carve
That's
your own
it.
path.
Yes.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
you're so much more deeply rewarded by like taking a risk and going into territory
That's
that no
it.
one has gone into than getting like a certain amount of
That's
likes
it.
on Instagram.
Well, that's why we stopped submitting to film festivals. We were like, let's take that whole reward mechanism off the table. Like, what if we're not appealing to that world at all? And I think that's when we started really making our most interesting films. That's when we made Florida Man. That's when we started, like, because we already weren't trying to appeal to that world. And it was a fluke that they ever even noticed us and we ever got attention. But when we really started to get wild and psychedelic was when we said, let's just take all those things off the table and we'll just put our films right out on the internet. And then you
I
just
really resonate with that.
Yeah, right, man?
People in the art world, like the gallery world, they're scrambling. They're like, how are we gonna see art? How are we gonna see art? And it's like they have no idea that the people that are gonna be making art into the future, it's like they don't even have time to ask that question because they're already knee deep in exploring like their next best piece. Like it's like happening now.
Yeah.
And you can use the internet. So we're like, I like to think of the internet as like a 13-year-old that was just given the keys to a Lamborghini Aventador and was like, all right, you drive this perfectly, right? And you're like, yeah. And then, you know, we use the internet in very nefarious, insecure, unskillful, unwise ways. You know, we're gonna do that in the beginning. Like we have so much powerful energy and potential with the internet that we look at each other in the face like so closely and we're like, fuck you, I don't like that.
Yeah, we're
like
those
that.
monkeys with the bones at the beginning of Space Odyssey, you know, with the
And we
internet's
are
the
that.
bone, you know.
We are that too. We are that too.
Yeah.
And to forget that is, I feel like, to take your title as human being like a little too seriously. Because at any given moment, we can also be that.
Yeah.
A monkey that's just banging, you know what I mean? Just.
Well, in terms of though, but I think we're at that point now, and the gift of this quarantine could be, at least for artists, is like I don't want to hear about like lame ass record labels after this. I don't want to hear about terrible contracts and this and that. Like this should tear down those structures. Like this should really democratize all these mediums, including yours, including ours, and the people that figure it out, the best will rise to the top. The people that figure out the best work, they won't get exploited as much. But I think also part of art nowadays is figuring out how to get it seen. Like that's a big part of it. And to give away that part of it and put that in other people's hands has never felt comfortable for us. And you know, that's how we know your stuff. Like
Absolutely.
I know you from Instagram. Like your stuff blows me away, and it has for years. And then you invited us over to your studio, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
Dude, you want to know what I did with this? Is a decision I made like 7 years ago. I'm like, I'm gonna take Instagram, and I'm gonna make it my ongoing, forever evolving, like museum retrospective. So whatever I need to say to the world, I'm going to make it, and then I'm going to just put it here. And I'm going to let it go as this ongoing journal of creativity and like honestly dig deep and then like tell the story of what that could look like over a lifetime and just leave it there.
Yeah, man.
As like the most helpful way that I could, like, here you go for the work, like the earth, like, future artists, this is how one could be an artist. Here you go, friend. Take this.
Yeah.
Here's one permutation on it.
Yeah, because your journey's
Yeah,
been...
you don't have to copy it. It's if you need any sort of like if you're going through any sort of wave, if you find my little nook, there might be something there that you can now, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
your
create
journey's...
a little piece for your part of the journey.
Yeah, because your journey's been pretty remarkable. I mean, you're 29 and you've had... Did I see your work hanging in the Museum of Modern Art?
See, that you did. Because
Okay.
I created the image of my work hanging in the Museum of Modern Art.
Okay. Well,
I
tell me more
created
about this.
Exactly what you're saying is what I do about so when I say museum retrospective, I also say that with the highest form of like I guess kind of irreverence. Like, it means so much to me, this artist journey. And it means so much to me that I'm not going to play by any of your rules, because I don't abide to any of those rules. I actually abide to this like higher kind of like, just tell the story, friend.
Right on.
Just sing the song, friend. Just sing it, buddy. Just sing it. And it's like, what if I was gifted the power of seeing my own work? So where you saw that, so I put my painting Soul Song on this spot in the Museum of Modern Art. And the spot that it's on is the wall where right now the painting Starry Night by Vincent van Gogh hangs. And that's the painting that I first cried at. I turned the corner and I saw it, and as soon as I saw it, I cried. That was the first time I'd ever cried at a painting. So and then right next door was the room with the Monet water lilies. And I walked in there and I cried again, and I sat on the bench, and I'm like, first of all, this is why they put benches in the museums. And second of all, this is why I'm an artist. Like, to do this for me, to make my own work, do this for me, and maybe it happens for somebody else. And so I was like, let me just get over the like mental block of trying to make work for an institution, and just take my work and create an image of my work. Oh, and that painting Soul Song was the first painting that I made 6 years later that I cried at. I made it and I knew it was finished because I cried at it.
Nice.
So that connection to Starry Night and Monet, and also Soul Song. So I took that painting, I put it there because I have the power to do that with the tools, the artist tools that I have been given.
Yeah.
The computer, Photoshop. And I look at it and I'm like, oh yeah, this deserves to be here. Like, this painting could be here. And here's what it looks like in this space. This is an image of my painting here. It looks amazing. Like, now what? Now what do I actually do? And the work that comes after that is like the work that I'm supposed to make. Because I no longer give a fuck about getting it actually in the Museum of Modern Art, because I know what my work looks like in the Museum of Modern Art. So it's like the badge doesn't mean anything to me, because I know what it looks like.
Awesome.
And I'm like, damn, my shit looks sick in there. Like, my shit looks sicker in there than most of the stuff that I've seen in there. And I don't mean that egoically. I just mean like for my own taste. So I don't need that anymore. I don't need that egoic, like, oh man, we vote you, the artist world, vote you the man of the year. Like, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I can just live that in my own life, and whatever that entails is whatever that entails.
Beautiful.
It's magic. It's definitely
magic.
magic.
It's a practice,
Yeah.
Exactly. It is magic. With these tools, I can literally show you what's in my mind. I go, oh, I cried at this painting. I've studied art history. I've worked my fucking ass off, like, mining the inward depths of oil painting and myself. Like, I know my work is like, I know I'm rubbing the membrane of something interesting. But not egoically, just like an honest inward journey, and like just putting in the hours, just
you must put in a lot of hours. It doesn't seem humanly possible, the amount of art you've produced and the level of craft that you've done for your age, and moving studios.
I treat it like an athletic journey too. Like the kind of the energy of warriorship. I played football when I was in high school in Miami, and it was just like a crazy, like traumatic experience for 5 years. To literally be the sensitive person that I am, and also be like on the gridiron in the place that breeds like the most badass fucking warriors for this game, South Florida. It's like, it's just a fact, you know?
Yeah.
And it was just a crazy time. Like, I developed a lot of concussions and bone damage, and like, but also insane, just like, I just bring that to what I do now, you know? So it's just like, I can like my ongoing practice is like, okay, been sitting here for 20 hours. We good, baby. We good. Like, we've been here before. Like, just for the love of the game, for the sake of the universe. Like, this is the fucking life that you have. Like, this is, you know, it's just, and at some point it just becomes more fun. The more you know about the thing that you're doing, like LeBron James has more fun playing basketball than like anybody else, you know, because he's so good.
Yeah.
Of course he's having a blast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Kobe Bryant. Why do people love him? Because he figured out how to have a blast.
Yeah.
Doing his thing.
Jerry
That's
Garcia, the Grateful Dead, they devoted themselves to having fun.
And
building your pyramid.
And
that's what DMT told me. Build your pyramid.
Wow.
yeah, and playing like your life depends on it. You know, it seems
It's
like
what it is.
Yeah.
That's it. The pyramid. It's your whole life going and accumulating into this beautiful point, and then going off into the wind. And it's like, that's your life. You know, so what is this? What is the building? What is the invisible pyramid of your life that you are building? It doesn't have to be made out of sand or concrete. You know, it's like, that's what trips me out about the internet and the computer. Because like when I build my website, I visually see it as I'm building with light. So like, you've been to the Met before, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a crazy building filled with art, and there's all sorts of corridors, and then you take a right, and there's a literal pyramid like in this giant room.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Well, you can just build a website out of light, and like, you don't have to have any cranes or heavy machinery. You don't have to like pay to have Egypt send over a pyramid.
Right.
Like, you can just build. Obviously, you can make things with your hands too.
I gotta look up your website.
You can also. Oh, I'm trying to build the craziest artist website of all time.
Shout it out. What is it?
I mean, it's not. Okay, so it's mrherget.com. So Matthew Ryan Herget, mrherget.com. It's the same principle. It's just an ongoing journey of taking the game so serious and also so playful at the same time, that I'm just gonna like keep it so like there's an unpreciousness and then there's also a preciousness.
Yeah.
So I just want to keep building the thing and leaving behind the like artifacts that I'm just making in forms of whatever it may be, paintings, photographs, poems, videos, whatever it may be.
A beautiful child.
And building it in some space that I curated, you know, on the internet. And how my website looks now is not going to be anything compared to how it will look in 10 years. Like, the idea that like, I don't know how to do the shit that I want to do, but like, that's the whole point. Like, I feel like the next best work is like what you're just tuning into, like that person that you ought to be and making your best thing in that moment. But then it's like, okay, what next? Like, cause not like egoically, but we're here. So, and you got energy. So let's fucking make work and leave it, for Earth, for the others,
Right.
to communicate with the others by communicating with ourselves and expressing what we find. Yeah, so the website is, I just think it's this incredible, barely tapped tool. Not even a tool, but a expression that artists can use to leave a literal like pyramid that someone could go explore way after they're physically no longer here.
Totally.
Shit, I gotta update our website.
It's good. Our website's good. What we always talk about is like, we're always like, can we take the commercial section off our website? Because like, I hate this idea that like our pyramid, our fucking wild temple in the digital space, like one of the first people to build a wild temple out there. Because you think this thing's at its infancy, really.
Yes.
And that there would be like a commercial section, like,
But you know what? Leaving that also says something bigger in a way that someone like me appreciates. Not everyone appreciates. And there's this, especially in the art world, there's this like, for lack of a better term, like there is like this like cunty energy of like, we are better than you because we make the art.
Yeah.
And it really does, it does get expressed into their websites. And artists are forever highly insecure creatures. So many artists are like forever using energy to scramble to like erase almost like the memories of older artwork that they see as no longer good enough.
Right.
For like what they do now. And that's just expression of like their ego playing in their mind. And it's not a bad thing, because the only reason I can talk about these things is because I've sensed them within myself, and then been able to like scan the land and be like, interesting, I know about that. Interesting, I know about that. Interesting, I know about that. And then decide for myself, fuck that. The most powerful you can be is just to be like, I don't care. Take it, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Judge me. Take it. This is what I did. I made money. I did a money grab bag that time. Yep. I fucking put a logo on my painting that time. Fuck it. I don't take
right
take
on.
It, whatever. You know what I mean? And be like, I'm a human. This is where I was at one point. This is what I'm making 10 years later.
I really appreciate hearing that. Because
I think helpful, going back to like, why are psychedelics part of our life? Because they teach us how we could be good apes. One of the ways of being that I've found of being good apes is being helpful. So like, so many people, again, going back to that energy of like insecurity that kind of expresses itself as like a little cuntiness. Yeah. It's like no one's trying to be helpful to anybody.
Yeah.
No one's trying to be helpful to anybody.
Yeah.
And it's like
we've weaponized that against each other.
For someone like me, I go, that's what makes you weak, friend.
Yeah.
That's what makes you weak, friend.
We've hit this moment.
Look up. Yeah.
So we've hit this moment a couple times where Sean's so generous with telling people exactly how he did something, through the whole process, and then they do their own version of it in a way that's like almost offensive because they didn't like move the art form forward. You know what I mean? It didn't feel like that. It more felt like they took a formula, heard him say what the formula was, and then be like, oh, I could do that. Like, I can make that easily. And it can be really discouraging because he's such a giver and such a lover, and he just, like, gives it all. And he's like, yes, 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 yes. This is how I did it. This is how exactly how I felt. These are the emotions, all this stuff. Expecting them to then, take it and go further. But the beautiful thing when that happens is, like, all right, man, that was your trip. Like, you had an option to make something that spoke to your own soul, and instead you decided to make something that you thought could get you a certain amount of hits on Vimeo.
Yeah.
And it shows in the work. And as much as
Yeah.
like it can be frustrating and upsetting, I try to tell Sean, like, it's don't stop giving for that reason. You know,
Don't.
it's not your
Oh no, I don't stop
problem.
giving, but I also don't hesitate
No,
to
of
call
course,
that person and
of
say
course.
you're a little bitch. That was a
I'm
bitch.
highly aware of in my own life exactly what you're talking about, and
Yeah.
I find it that this is the it's so interesting. It's because younger artists are constantly unsure of the journey necessarily that they're even on.
Yeah.
So they admire someone who they can see is deeply rooted into their journey, and they sense like yes, like they know more about the thing that I'm trying to know about. And but what they are, because they're not the person that's experiencing that journey, they ask for what they're seeking for is techniques,
Yeah.
ideas, techniques. And then it's like, friend, it's not technique. Like the techniques are simply ways that I've developed how to express certain things, but it's the thing that I'm tuning into based on my own journey
Right.
that is infusing the techniques with the energy that you're picking up on.
It's the wizard,
You
not the
have to live
wand.
your own journey.
Yes.
So to me, the pushback on that is to, instead of, this is one of the trippiest parts about the plant, working with plants in your life, is that instead of, because I understand very well, like the like I've had people like literally their make whole bodies of work that have like been look like their best attempt at like my style.
Yeah, because you got
And
really popular.
and the ego within me has explored in many ways, like, man, like they're fucking doing my work and blah blah blah. But the self is like, no, silly, like, you've explored a nook in your cave that no one could ever run down, and like instead of listening to those voices, how about we supercharge your imagination so that you literally are always in contact with the infinite store of novelty and imagination within you, and then you can constantly draw from that and just express it from who you are, which is the guy who deserves to be expressing their best ideas.
Yeah.
Like whatever artifacts they can pluck out of the infinite and bring back to the tribe.
Yeah.
Like, you're that guy, you're on that journey, you know. So the plants are like, yeah, you're that guy. You want all the ideas? You know what I mean? Like, you want all the ideas, friend?
Well,
Like,
what
do you like?
they also remind you, like, and I think this is a great practice, is like how you are that, but you're also the guy ripping you off, you know? And the sooner that you can look at this thing that's killing you about this other being and find yourself in it, that's where that's what that lesson was probably rooted in to begin with. And you know,
Absolutely.
that's like taking your medicine and using people and these fucking nuisances in your life as the guru and flipping it around, and like,
Oh yeah,
like people should do that for Donald Trump more often. I think that's how we're gonna like slay this, like this final boss, is like get rid of Trump, is like when we all start seeing ourselves in him, how we ended up with him, and we'll never end up with anything that looks like that ever again. But when we continue to otherize and otherize and otherize, we're not going to learn. So I think that like this ties into like we give our power away when we do that, when we otherize. We're in our power when we can see everything as one, and we can see ourselves reflected in everything. And what these young artists or artistic opportunists are doing when they rip someone off is they're forgetting that they're part of a cycle of exploration and expression, exploration and expression. They just want to do the expression, the expression, the expression. That's such a that in itself is an expression of their inner capitalist kind of flaring up and the ego doing what it does in this society.
What's
But
interesting, there is an energy that, and you have to be sensitive to it to understand it, of like playing the role of the artist as opposed to actually just being who you are and expressing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of that.
A great part is, a great thing that like this was from a long time ago is like, we're not filmmakers. We're people who make films every now and then. We're not even artists. Like we have artistic flare-ups, but everyone does. You know what I mean? I align and identify with the artistic lifestyle more than putting on that mask because with that becomes expectations that are going to turn into insecurities that are going to kind of keep from those artistic flare-ups from happening in a genuine way. So, we just really don't identify with any of it. And like that has been a message from the plants fucking like no ayahuasca especially. Have you ever done that?
Mm-mm.
Oh, you haven't done that yet? But
Nope.
you've smoked mad DMT.
Yeah.
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 Oh man, I gotta
To
pee.
say the least.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
But I want to hear about mushrooms and DMT from him. So I just gotta pee 1 second.
Sure.
Thanks for doing this
Are
with
you
us.
all in Brooklyn right now?
We are. We are in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. We're holding it down.
Are you one of the people that are thinking about leaving New York?
I mean, of course, everyone thinks about it, but there's no like. It feels like such a chore. Like we wanna expand our life and inside. And I feel like I think what we're learning is that we're not the people who are gonna have the ranch and the commune. You know what I mean? We're the people who like it's okay. Like it's like the dream, but like we've had to unpack the dream and be like, is that really us? Are we really those people, or are we people who like maybe aren't going to be the organic farmer but would like to live near an organic farm and
For
contribute
sure. Absolutely.
something,
Absolutely. The idea of having a farm is still a little, I mean, not to Vanessa, but to me, it's still a little like out of the way in terms of, it's still a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Intimidating.
Yeah. Well, it'll be a new form of art for you. Like, you know what I mean? The amount of time that you put towards painting will have to be reallocated in some way, right?
See, but I'm just not willing to spend that amount of time on gardening just yet.
Yeah, that's us. That's us too. I'm going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had to have that talk the other day about like, are we gonna do the classic like thing of like, oh no, what we really are is farmers beneath it all. And it's like, no, we're not. I'll fully admit that I'm not the type of person. Like I'm cool with gardening.
I don't think you need to have a farm. You don't have to have a farm.
No,
to,
no.
do it. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Even when I say a ranch, like the idea of, I don't even know what I just mean land to have a studio on and work on and live at and work from, but it doesn't need to have like some specific sort of gardening system, or I don't know.
I think there's going to be a wave of communal living that comes on the heels of this, and because I don't think things are going to be able to go back to normal, and it's like find your tribe, build your tribe, and who are you comfortable being around? Who do you want to spend long amounts of time possibly hiding from this virus or whatever mutations come from it? So I think that people are going to be thinking about that a lot more on the heels of this thing or during it. I know that instinct kicked in for us, but it's hard for us to envision going to someone else's commune and not just being like, getting a dope place and saying whoever can come here.
See, but I can't go to anyone else's thing. I have to make my own thing.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
similar.
That's like a prerequisite.
We'll go visit someone else's thing and have a great
Exactly.
fucking time.
Of course.
But
Yeah. I just the thought of it. Vanessa, my wife, calls me when we go to Montana. She calls me Montana Matt. She says it's my happiest version of myself.
Nice.
Just because it's just so. You want to talk about a wild place? Montana is just the wildest place. I feel like if Montana just legalized everything and was like, we're Montana, we don't give a shit about psychedelic plants.
Yeah.
And
I mean, they're kind of like that just because they aren't in people's
the
business.
cool it exactly. They have 80-mile-per-hour speed limits. Like
cool.
we didn't see a cop for like 4 days while we were there. It was like
Nice.
everyone's just like to themselves, you know.
I dig that.
That would be, but yeah, if their laws reflected, like, to me, the spirit of Montana is we don't give a shit.
Yeah.
If their laws just reflected to that, I think it would be Utah as well would be one of the most underrated places to live at.
Oh, for real. Yeah, I would definitely consider that. We've never set foot in Montana, but it's like one of our dream places to go.
Unbelievable. Alaska too would be so cool.
Have you been up there?
No, that's so one of my dream road trips is literally drive from LA to Alaska.
That's
Cool.
crazy. That's pretty gnarly
It's probably
trip,
like at
right?
least 30 hours or something.
more
right?
than that.
It's like driving from one side of the country to the other. I actually just looked it up again yesterday. It's 3,600 something miles.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's completely, it's landlocked the whole time, and it's pretty wild. You drive through Canada, and it's pretty cool.
Right now you don't want to fly, so maybe it's a good summer trip.
I'm waiting for the Tesla Cybertruck to come out.
Oh, dude.
That's my
Nice.
my big truck that I have right now. I haven't driven it in a while because we don't really have to. So I want my next vehicle to be because we drive so much, the Tesla Cybertruck. It's like the perfect adventure machine.
Is that the one that looks like all angular, the new big thing?
And I'm thinking eventually, at least within the next probably 5 years, they'll have some sort of charger pack on top that picks up the sun rays and it charges the truck, and you could pretty much adventure indefinitely. That's what I'm thinking is going to happen. So that's what my vision is kind of set towards. Like, I'm waiting it out.
It's on the vision board.
Saving my bucks for that'll be my next vehicle.
Yeah, if we have the money, we're trying to let our sweet baby car hold on another few years for the VW electric bus.
Yeah,
See, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Another really cool one. Yeah.
Is it weird that or is it a conflict that I really like Tesla cars, but I fucking don't understand the obsession with Elon Musk? I never want to hear his name. He grosses me out in so many ways. I don't understand that cultural obsession with him at all.
Well, that's funny because I have I still have a very deep kind of weird thing about Volkswagen because fucking Nazis started them.
Yo, dude.
I think about that all the time. Every time I see a Volkswagen, I'm like, Volkswagen, the fucking people's car, It's like, it's so weird, but I do love but it's funny how then the hippies in the 60s kind of merged. I don't know how that kind of came to be.
They probably had to do with the CIA. I don't know. That would be a good move by them.
It's all weird. You know what I mean? It's all weird. But I couldn't agree more. That electric car, I'm like, I love that thing. But they also were started by Nazis.
All right. I guess we'll have to dream for another car.
No, but you know, if we are the things that we say we are, we can give people second chances.
Yeah, jeez. Definitely. I will give Elon Musk a second chance. If we can give all the people in prison right now a second chance and just burn those fuckers down and let's see how it goes. Let's just see how it goes.
Hey, of all billionaires to like dislike, Elon Musk is at the top of my list of like ones to like, I feel like.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess if you know, that's really tough. That's like asking me to pick my favorite Nazi.
But I mean, but who else is doing what he's doing? Which
Yeah,
is to literally say, like, he's responding to the isness of the world. The world is not going to get rid of cars, but you
yeah,
can swap your car for an electric car. That would be a good
yeah.
idea.
Those panels
So
he makes, they're only in Australia right now, I think. But like those
They can
things
store
that
electricity.
store electricity, those could like,
Revolutionize.
that's
The
what I'm saying.
grid?
I think he's gonna. I think he's, you know, perhaps you're seeing, you know, kind of deep into his shadowy side, and I could see how
yeah.
that could be there.
When he hits the
But
blunt, and he's like,
yeah, oh yeah, without a doubt, that's there. But it is for all of us.
yeah, I got to see
I'm,
myself in
I,
him.
I think he's trying to help the world. I think he's trying to help the world. I really do.
Okay.
I think he's trying to help the world. I think he could benefit greatly from smoking DMT 12 times.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh, I like that you say 12 times. You know, that's something we don't
it's a
talk
new
about
thing.
enough.
It's a new thing that I'm playing. It's a new thing that I'm playing with, which
Yeah.
is like, just be honest with what I'm really trying to say.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that you should have mushrooms once. It's you should have 5
Yeah.
big. I'm sorry. You should have 12 big trips
Oh wait,
in your life. You know what I mean?
Over the course of a couple
how,
years.
do you know how, like, do you have a rough estimate of how many times you've tripped? Because you really, your studio is also kind of like a psychedelic outfit. Like, you had a bed there for tripping. You said you've let other.
I mean, I do one-on-one with like my closest friends
Wow.
in that studio. They've tripped, or in some cases not even necessarily my closest friends, but just people that were that had been curious and were like, I have to, you know, eat mushrooms, but I'm kind of afraid to do so. And they just literally walk in my studio, meet me, and they're like, okay, can you watch me while I eat mushrooms? Because I think you're the guy for that job. And I'm like, funny you ask. I actually am the guy for that job.
Nice.
So, and then, so I have like a bed there that, you know, you just go on your journey. I will have a little ceremony for you, play my instruments, and then just go, you know, to my studio and just get to work. And then they'll like come out of their trip and be looking around, and they're in literally like a creative vortex, and it's wild. It's wild.
Wow.
Do you know how many times
Seeing
you've?
their eyes in that space, it's like, it's the best thing ever.
I bet. My God. It must. You must get a little bit of a contact high charge too through it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I mean, but I'm always contact high.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why it's like, I think smiles and eyes can tell more than like words can, because in that space, like, you're just looking at the other person, and it's just like, you don't have to say anything. I know what you're going through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, sit in that, because this is like, yeah, like one of my best friends, when I first like was starting a relationship with him, he went on a camping trip with me, and we tripped in my little magic tent that I call it. And as soon as he was at his peak, about like an hour and a half in, he looked over at me and he's like, now I know why you're an artist. And I was like, right? Like, he felt it.
Wow.
And I said, thank you. It was one of the oddest like things that I took as like the greatest compliments.
Definitely.
For him to have that experience and then see it and be like, I see it for myself. And it's like, yes.
Yeah.
You see it for yourself. That's the thing. Everything else is just ideas and fucking bullshit. Like, but you have to see it for yourself to really like be moved by it.
And I think it takes people living the way you are and living the way we're trying to live to do that, even as much as the art that we might produce.
Oh, absolutely.
Being the
you
example.
have to be the thing. You have to be the thing.
Yeah.
Be
But
the
the art is the artifacts. It's like what we're here to work on. You know, what else would we be working on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
We're the art.
What else would you be working on?
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost, DMT once told me, when you're the thing, you don't have to write it all down.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
And then it said, the writing it down is sometimes for others.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, because it works for some people. I've never been that guy. Because I resonate more with the feeling than any of the words. Like, because I've come out of DMT trips with like, holy Christ, but there's nothing to say about it. So I don't know. I just resonate more with how that felt, as opposed to being the person that's like journaling all day. But like, we've been around bunches of people who are like smoking.
But the writing it down could even be just a symbol. You know what I mean? Like how the pyramid is just a symbol. It's like, you don't have, it's like you know how it's such an energy shift. As soon as you start like recording something, you're like, there's this energy shift of like capturing it. And it's just like a very thin membrane, but it is an interesting membrane to play with. And it's like, sometimes it's, it always points back to like, you're the thing that you're looking for.
Yeah.
Now go be it. And when you want to capture something, you capture it. When you want to just be in it, you just be in it. But ultimately, whatever you're interacting with in your now moment, it's like, come from it as the thing that you are.
Yeah. Which is Buddha, which is Christ.
Which is, yes, and
Donald Trump.
Everything is a teacher. Everything is a student.
Wow. Well, we're going to wrap this up, dog. This was hopefully the first of many that we do with you. This was
I
like,
feel like we've been talking for like 12 hours.
Yeah, right.
In the best of ways. Just like
that was fucking awesome, dude. Like, we had no idea what to expect, and we just said a little prayer like, hopefully this is our best podcast ever, and it totally is, because for me,
I love that.
For me, I need people like you to light a fire under my ass, because sometimes we feel alone out there on like a crest of a wave of trying to express from the thing that we were trying to talk about this whole time, and it could feel a little bit weird and lonely. So we're always trying to find the others, and when we do,
but you also are that.
Oh, I know. Yeah, exactly.
You are that lonely being.
Right on, man.
Like, you are that. Like, man.
Dude.
I am that too. You know what I mean? And then it's like, everybody is that too.
Thank God.
Now I can treat everybody like they are that too.
Yes, man.
Even when I forget, I can always come back to they are that too.
Wow. Well, we're going to celebrate.
You said it. You intended. that this is your best podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are constantly sending out little like magic prayers with their words. They're like, the day is the big day is coming. The big day is coming. The big day is coming. No, motherfucker, you're the thing, and this is the day right now.
Yeah.
Stop giving yourself permission to give the power to the future, to the past, to somebody else, to some ideology, to some whatever, and intend for it yourself. You did that. You said today, this is going to be the most powerful, the best podcast. Boom. Ask and you shall receive. Intend and you are.
Because it casts a spell on me that makes me want to show up. And I'll never forget, like, one of the...
But you're the spell.
Well, yeah. Well, I remember we were in LA and someone told us to go see a channel. And as soon as I walked in, she was like, "Whoa, there's mushroom energy around you." I was like, "Holy shit." And I wasn't wearing this shirt or being a goofball or anything. And I was like, yeah. So she was basically like speaking through the mushroom to me and how the mushroom is always with me and loves like co-creating and everything with me. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. And we talked and talked. And one of the mushroom messages through this channel was like, I kept saying, I want to rise to the occasion. I want to like show up. And she was like, there's no occasion to rise to. Stop being like that.
Where are you trying to go?
Yeah. Like you're it. You're it.
It's so easy. It's so simple. Like, but also sensitive.
Oh yeah. Oh, totally.
Like, hard to listen to in a loud place.
But always coming back to, you're building a temple, you're building a pyramid, whether you like it or not. So like if you're in touch with that, I think you'll start doing everything more consciously and you'll start living in better alignment. That's when the art pours out. That's when everyone's an artist. So, who could claim that too seriously? How could I too seriously call myself an artist? I'm as much of an artist as my sister Caitlin, who has epilepsy, who every day gets up and does a puzzle and does her coloring and does her things, like, because she can't do much. Like, she is as much of an artist as me, and she goes and she writes lyrics of songs that she likes. Like, this is an expression. This is an expression of where she's at, and it's a very pure state of being. And I learn from her, but like, I don't need to put that mask on. I don't think anyone does.
But what if it's not a mask?
Maybe it's not.
What if it doesn't have to be a mask?
That's true.
What if the other opportunity was to jump into the thing of like, of course I'm an artist.
Yeah.
What the fuck else am I?
Yeah. I realized that a long time ago.
Other than a conscious creator.
Yeah.
Of the thing, working with the thing as the thing. I think you're being a little modest of yourself when you're saying, well, how can I call her that? As opposed to, let me own that for myself as well for her.
Yeah. For real.
Because you are that.
There you go.
But you don't have to you don't like, I think I'm God. I think you're God. I think everything's God.
I agree.
But I don't even need the words. I don't need the words. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you say the words, I won't be offended.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
If you say God, it's like, okay, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. If you say artist, okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what an artist is. Yeah. So it's like, it's this dance. It's always dance.
Well,
it's always a dance.
You're definitely one of our favorites. Your work definitely moved me to tears. As much as I've been addicted to it on Instagram, like being there in person, like spending time getting lost in the layers and the work that goes into these things and how big they are and breathtaking.
Yeah, maybe next time you can give us a studio tour when you're back in the space.
Oh, it's medicine. Being around this stuff, I would kill for one of your paintings. It's like, thank you for doing what you do,
very much.
Thanks for hopping on here, man. We really appreciate it. Let's do it more often.
Thank you for being new friends.
I
love you all very much.
We love
you.
I think you all are on an amazing journey, and I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Definitely,
Ditto,
man.
ditto.
Yeah, part of the tribe.
Enjoy the adventure.
Yes, you too, man. Peace and love. We'll see you on the other side.
See ya.
Let me see.
Check out Matt's artwork.
Yeah, check out his website. Check out his Instagram.
All that stuff is in the link section below.
Mm-hmm.
Check out this show on YouTube if you're just listening to us.
Yeah, we're doing all episodes now on YouTube. So
Yeah, we're trying that, and we'll shoot them better when we can do these in person if we ever can again.
Yeah.
We'll shoot them not on webcams, but with our dope equipment. But also, if you're just watching this on YouTube, we have another show that's in the Very Ape podcast feed, audio only, is called Church of Chill, and that's like a radio show where we play music for an hour or two. And really vibe out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Church of Chill. Definitely alien music for alien people.
Right on.
So check that out. And yeah, thank you.
Hour 43, 143.
Ooh, we love that. I love you. 143. It's a magical number for us. It's a good time to end this.
Peace and love.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.